Congressman Seth Moulton is dropping out of the Democratic presidential race. Moulton will run for re-election in Massachusetts instead. He is expected to speak later today when he attends the Democratic National Committee meetings in San Francisco. Moulton is the second 2020 candidate to drop out of the race this week. For more, I want to bring in CBSN political reporter Caitlin Huey-Burns. We can start there. We are obviously seeing some candidates drop out. Jay Inslee earlier this week. Can we expect a little more as we move forward now, especially towards this next debate process?
Exactly. That's kind of the date that we're watching. Mid-September is the next debate, but next week we'll know whether which candidates have made the debate stage totally. So you're going to see a lot of these candidates who are not either making the polling threshold and the donor threshold start to reevaluate their campaigns and reevaluate whether they can actually continue on in this race. So we saw Jay Inslee earlier this week, Seth Moulton today. Both were figuring not to make the debate stage in September. Jay Inslee has announced his run for re-election for governor. Seth Moulton is going to run again for Congress. They kind of saw the writing on the wall.
And for Representative Moulton, what happened? Why didn't he maybe resonate with people out there?
Right. Well, I interviewed him several times over the course of this campaign and early on before he even got into this race. And he said that he wanted to make an impact on the Democratic primary by talking about foreign policy. He's a veteran with several tours under his belt. He is a young member of Congress. He's also a young father. He challenged Nancy Pelosi, or he pushed for challenge to Nancy Pelosi last time around. And he also spent a lot of time in 2018 trying to recruit veterans to run for Congress and was quite successful in that effort. So he wanted to make his stamp on this race on foreign policy because he said Democrats really weren't focused on that. And over the course of the campaign, we found out that voters really weren't either. There wasn't really an appetite for his message. He didn't make any of the debate, so it was really hard for him to put that message forward.
But were there some things, I know he also talked a lot about PTSD and was very open about the problems that he had, some inroads that he maybe made there simply by running.
Right, certainly. His openness about PTSD and a policy that he put forward to deal with it, I think, was pretty striking in this race. He wasn't the only veteran running, though. Tulsi Gabbard is running, of course, and Pete Buttigieg, who is actually doing a lot better than those other candidates. So they were able to kind of make their mark on the generational argument, on the foreign policy argument, and on the veteran argument.
We started off talking about people that we may see dropping out of the race. What about the frontrunners? Have things shifted at all there as we head again to these debates in September?
Right. Well, these the top tier candidates, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and a few others, they are kind of anxious for this field to narrow so they can kind of move forward. And voters really are anxious for this field to narrow. They're just overwhelmed by the sheer number of candidates. I believe even with Moulton dropping out, I still think we have about 21 candidates still in this race. So what I'm watching for over the next few days are candidates like Kirsten Gillibrand, John Delaney, and a few others Tulsi Gabbard as well, who haven't made the debate credentials yet, the requirements yet. Do they start to reassess their campaigns?
And are there some key issues that we can look to mid-September that they will be focused on in the debate?
Well, the economy and healthcare are top of mind for voters, and this is something that the candidates have been talking a lot about.
We've seen shifts in healthcare.
Exactly, a debate a little bit in healthcare, Medicare for all versus adding and expanding on Obamacare. That was a big issue of contention in the last debate. We really haven't seen foreign policy dominate the discussion. Really, in the campaigns and from voters, we've been hearing that their number one concern is defeating Donald Trump. So they have been looking for a candidate to do that. They don't quite know who that will be or what that looks like. But these other issues that may have played a role in past campaigns are kind of taking a back seat to this kind of overarching concern that voters have of driving the president out.
Still amazing, more than 20 candidates right now in that race. Caitlin, thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up after the break.